now. Yes, so we're recording. I'm Laura Jane, and I'm here with Dr. Don Nago. Do I say that right, or I don't say the G? Tell me how I say that right at the end. What is it?
I make the G silent.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Then Don, no. Yes, okay. And I'm so thankful to share some time with you from your office rehab space there in Bixby Knolls across town. So welcome.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like I was just saying off recording, I'm just really honored to get to talk to friends like you at this time. And you're someone who really has such a holistic approach and even expertise in with, I know, your own life and with the people you work with, because I know you've studied so much about the physical body and physiology and understanding those systems, but then you've also studied so much about mindset and mental approaches and even the psychology that can go with being human, much less healing or making changes, right? So, and then you're a dad of with 3 kids and and a career wife, right, who's in education. So, yeah. So, how's it been going for you at this time of change?
Uh, for me, it's been mm, uh, good. I mean, I know it's been hard for my wife, but for me, it's been uh, just business as usual. I try not to let it get to me as much. I don't know. I preach about habits and habits that we we do is to prepare us for not just the good days, but for the rainy days. And so I guess I've been having a sense of routine that I do that helps me. And so um, I guess it's paying off.
Yeah. And I mean, how has it been for you as someone who you're such a unique health practitioner yourself to be, I mean, I don't want to ask you to try to say anything you're not comfortable saying, but just to be even making sense of this whole health situation.
So how do I make
Yeah, yeah, as you've been hearing about this virus, is that something that you had been hearing about for months and months and months before some of us because you tuned into the medical health community, or um, has it been on your radar for a while, this whole thing coming up? Or was it not so much because of, you're more focused on wellness and your specific focus with clients and such? Yeah, I mean, just with the whole like media sensation of the virus and such, was that something that you were aware of before the rest of us were, or did it kind of come upon you like it did the rest of us? That makes sense.
My wife's been talking about it,
Uh-huh.
since like January, since it started over in China. She's Taiwanese. And
Yes.
so it's been more in the Chinese news. So she
Yes.
talk about it. I guess I didn't take it as seriously until, because I'm a big sports fan, until the NBA like stopped their season, right? So that was like a big moment, and I think that I find that kind of shook the 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 world a bit. Like, oh, a whole sports league
Yes.
um, for this.
Yeah.
And, what else also happened that really um, uh, I feel like made a big impact. But for sure, when NBA made their
Yeah.
stance,
Right.
that was a big call. Made
Yeah.
it or at least another group of people who just thought it was the flu to actually
Right.
and take notice. I think because of that, um, you know, there's more talks about quarantining ourselves and and flattening the curve to help flatten it. And that's when I actually start looking up into more of the virus stuff and how it impacts and why it's so important to play our part.
Yes, right. Yeah, because I know you're someone who, in my mind, you are always teaching about things like immunity, and a lot of what you do with people is about helping them actually restore immunity and things like that, right? And looking at like the deeper levels of what keeps us healthy and what sorts of habits and lifestyles need to go into it. So, right? And I is that accurate that that's part of what your understanding is? I know you have a lot of understanding like the gut health and importance of and right is how it's also interconnected in some.
Yeah. So I'm a physical therapist, right?
Yeah.
Physical therapist in sports medicine. And so my perspective is not just, okay, exercise, not just stretching, but also looking at, taking a look at the whole person. And part of it is how well can they recover. So you
Ah,
exercise all you want and stretch all you want, but if there's a nagging tension or a pattern, a stuck pattern, then a lot of times if we look at how well are we recovering, then the truth comes out. And so
ah,
community is part of it, and so part of that comes with, the second brain, which is the gut,
ah,
and then our lymphatic system, how well can we kind of cleanse and get rid of inflammation, and then sleep health, so that's when our body actually does most of the healing, recovering. So yeah, so that's just one category that is very important to make sure we get past that pattern.
ah.
So,
Ooh.
uh, uh, and so yes, I do talk about how to keep our
Yeah. And did this um, phenomenon get you questioning or wondering or deepening your research and trying to understand if it was something different, or have you been handling it like just your usual understanding of viruses and then just the safety precautions we can take, right? Does that make sense? Like, have you felt alarmed to research it deeply and really get more in that place, or do you feel like you're treating it like, I don't know, I don't mean to like ask like an inflammatory question, but I'm just kind of curious about what your response has been just in understanding it as someone who understands these things. Right.
yeah. So if I'm hearing the question correctly, is do I feel like this is just a virus or is there more to it? Like, what's my interpretation of it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, um, as a practitioner, I'm always evaluating my own bias and making sure that when
Mm,
I am uh, saying something, just to keep open-minded. So
yeah.
yes, virus. So coming from virus, um, you know, giving ourselves all the nutrients and eating clean and getting the appropriate amount of sleep, basically being balanced. So
Yeah.
there's some physical movement into it, or mental hygiene into it will help our body overcome virus, right?
Mm,
So that also includes gut health, everything I just talked about. But I don't know. It's just I feel like um, there might be more to it because there must be a reason why this virus is acting totally different. 100 years,
mm, yeah.
this virus is very powerful. So it just makes me question. Um, I still tell people to boost your immune system, right?
Yeah.
It's immune boosting protocols, uh, help manage stress level, but also I don't know. I like to just keep everything just a little part open and make sure that that um, that I don't know, just that's who I am, not to keep.
Yes, wow. Which is actually, I think, makes you such a modern, evolved doctor, right? That you have that openness, right? Because the kind of the older fashioned versions of some medicine, right, has not been always so open. It's kind of like, I already know what's true. So I appreciate that you have that openness and that you're always learning, right? And that you're so aware of the power of your words too, right? Especially with your clients and patients, that you're so conscious with how you use your words. I see that. And I appreciate that. Yeah, because it can be like a curse on someone, right? If you use your words.
Or words play a big role in shifting towards amplifying pain or shifting towards a state of recovery and healing. Yeah, words can play a big role.
Right? Yeah, in how our body's going to respond even.
And in order to know what the appropriate words for that individual, you kind of have to know them a little bit more.
Mm.
Deeper at what makes them feel important, what makes them thrive, alive, what makes them afraid, fearful, what makes them what shuts them down, and a little bit more about their family, their life, and then once I know that, then choosing the right words can actually encourage the path more towards recovery.
Ah, that makes sense. It really does. And yeah, I love that you have that as part of your work with your clients, that you have the initial assessments where you really want to get to know more about their personality styles and learning styles and some of that in a very welcoming way. So I like how you add that to your work with people. Yeah.
I think that's the newer model. That's the model that they're trying to implement, kind of biopsychosocial model towards pain. Taking the biology, psychology, social, economic status. So it's being now and more of the news ads. But in order to do that, I mean, it takes like being present. Uh, you know, uh, when you're at work, to put aside your own issue and be 100% present in order to really listen through an empathetic ear. So then,
Wow.
so then you can apply that person's biopsychosocial uh, uh, solution, you know, um, and and you know, like I was talking about how I'm mentoring another physical therapist who's kind of feels burnt out, and she has good heart and good intention, but 3 years out, she's burnt out. I think it's just she wants to implement that, but when the clinic requires you to see 4 clients, 6 clients, an hour, then
Mm-hmm.
you're just running around with like your head's cut off.
Yes. Yeah. So part of it may include having a little freedom with your practice to be able to be that kind of practitioner where you can be more present and have the time with your patients. Yeah. And that's really such a leadership role we'd love to see more of too, is practitioners who are doing whatever it takes to be able to be present with their patients or clients once they're there, right? To do that kind of deeper listening and just ready to acknowledge the, what do you call it? It's like a trifecta, you're saying there, like a what's the 3 words there?
Biopsychosocial.
Biopsychosocial. Yeah. So I love, is that part of what you're doing with this work with mentoring other physical therapists? We'll say plural because through that one, you're now mentoring many through this podcast that she's doing with you, right? Yeah. But is that part of what you're building into it, is helping the therapists bring in more of a way to address those areas, as to help their own work feel more fulfilling and effective with the clients? Is that one of the pieces, would you say?
the side effect of us having a discussion with her. She's more attracted because of for the holistic manipulation
Mm,
I do.
yeah.
That's what gravitated her towards people. But we discuss about it. Um, I try to bring the hard science and the soft science. That's what we call it. Try to bring soft science. So then that way, uh, so that way we're not just forgetting about all the stuff that she learned in school, but using that as a strong foundation. That's what science is for, to help protect the consumer and the people who are coming to you for help. That's just a guidance. Is a platform to help make good sound decision for more safety, harm.
Uh,
And then the soft science, the one that I think there are a lot of research on it, but it's just not a high, I would say high level evidence. It's just because it's very hard to research the person, and
uh-huh.
like the emotional component, the personalities, so and then the art is uh, just blending the subtleties, the nuance, the minutia, so then that way they feel heard, they feel you know you give where they feel heard, and they get what they need. you know
Uh-huh. Which you realize is part of the therapy.
and, working together.
I think that's an interesting distinction you make, though, between hard science and soft science. I feel like that's helpful for some of us to be aware of, right? Because right now there are even a lot of discussions of what's science and what's fact and what's not, right? And so it's interesting to hear from someone like you who looks at a lot of research, and like you're saying, you really do base a lot of your work with clients even on what you find in the research and the science. But even you distinguish that there is a truth, that there's definitely a hard science and then this like soft science,
Yeah.
which sounds like you're saying is maybe like the research that's run by the institutions that aren't able to do as big of a sample, or things where you have to, like, when you look at the research you realize it only indicates so much because of the way it was run and things like that. Is that kind of the difference between hard science and soft science?
Soft science is is I guess stuff that can't be replicated in high numbers.
Okay, uh-huh, right, yeah. So it's a little less statistically valid or something, and would that be some of the ways of describing? I remember looking at some of this in my psychology graduate school, right? Some statistics and research, but yeah, I think that's really interesting for us to be aware of nowadays. It's like people like you know that there's soft science and hard science, right? And we all have to be like the consumer of the science now, right? Like the conscious consumer.
As a consumer, uh, we get a lot of information, and to know what will help during these times. You know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and that's really important right now, isn't it? With how people are, I think, feeling through this, like who their sources are, and and that's a big hot trigger topic, right? It's just like this. We're hearing a lot that feels like it's from science, and that's why it can feel so scary. And like we should really be listening to it and taking it to making it such a part of our awareness, right? But yeah, I love that distinction that there is some variety in the science nowadays, right? Mm, mm. Wow, that's so interesting. Well, and I don't know, anything else that you feel like you want to get to mention, or anything that comes up for you and just sharing with people about right now and how you're handling it, even as a business practitioner or a dad or any of that?
Um, I mean, I have to take and help my kids learn now. So
Yeah.
um, I think for your listeners, what I um, recommend a lot to a lot of my clients,
Yeah.
is to help them connect left and right brain a lot.
Ah.
So and so there's I think it's, I don't know what's his title, but Daniel Siegel. He wrote
Uh-huh.
a lot of books on the brain and the influence of the brain on everything relating to, you know, and there's an explosion of a lot of researchers looking at how the brain and our interpretation of pain impacts our ability to feel emotions or not, and how that impacts how well we can move or not. And so talk about left and right brain a lot, and the people who are more resilient to pain uh, can brush aside pain, uh, who have more, I guess, emotional agility
Mm.
are the ones that move from left and right brain very easily. And Daniel Siegel talks about upstairs and downstairs. And so if we can practice switching from left brain to right brain, integrate it upstairs, downstairs, and just
Ooh.
very
Whoa.
dynamic, and then uh, their mind body, I guess, yeah, spiritually too. Can,
Wow. Leads to like more emotional resilience, perhaps. It
yeah,
sounds.
yeah.
So what would be an example if, I don't know if you could come up with an example of like, how would you go left brain, right brain? Like what would be an example of one of each? I know I've like learned those things in the past, like what's left brain and right. One is more like creative and
Uh-huh.
abstract, right? And one's more logical or something. Yeah, but remind me, yeah.
So, example of
Like if you were to go left brain, right brain with your kids, like if you were to encourage them to do a left brain, like to be getting engaged in both ways, what would be a example of that? If that makes sense.
um, so I will have them do like the first hour and a half, more creative stuff.
Mm.
So I encourage, I'm a physical therapist that like studied for 50 years on exercise and movement, but sometimes the homework I give my clients is to draw more, to journal,
Ah,
to explore the creativity because they've kind of suppressed that side so
and
much.
does that go with the left brain or right brain? Remind me.
So
Creativity is right brain? Okay, so right brain tends to go with like drawing, journaling, being creative more. So that would be what's going to stimulate our right side of the brain.
I usually start
Uh-huh.
with that because I know school tends to go more towards workbooks and worksheets and testing. So I usually
Which
start with that because it's the beginning of the day. So then they could be more creative, and then we shift more towards uh, whatever they did, write it out. So more towards okay, now you have to like story tell. You have to write out what you did, and then we shift towards math, more logical stuff, and then just helping them shift back and forth. So like in his book on parenting, he says, okay, if someone is um, unable to switch back and forth, then we have them draw it out, draw the experience out. So sometimes I recommend clients if they're an overthinker, so a lot of type A
Mm.
would be that way. Uh, or I just my intuition says like they have artistic creative energy to them, but they're just their job as an engineer and they're stuck, you know,
Mm.
thinking about procedures and protocols. Then they have them go out, you know, and just draw, anything more your side, yeah. And so um, uh,
I love that.
what
Wow.
talks about is recalling stuff or recalling will help. So then we'll just practice. I'll start out by telling a story, and then they have to tell me a story. Or if I need 30 minutes to wash the dishes and do stuff, errands, they'll watch TV, and then after that, they have what they watch. So then they're learning how to uh,
Ah,
switch back and forth, up, down, left, right.
okay, okay. Wow, that's another great example, especially since people right now are maybe if their kids are watching a show more often, then they can now know how to let it be a balancing experience for their brain by asking them to kind of talk to you about what they watched right afterwards, and that's going to integrate the learning. And cool, I love that, and it really makes so much sense to get that from you with your expertise in approaching, the body. So great tip.
It's
So
helped a
cool.
lot.
Yeah,
Sometimes
right.
people expect me to give exercise, but not I give that as a homework.
I love that. That's so great. The physical therapist who gives you drawing homework. That's how cool you are. That's so awesome. Gosh. Well, thank you so much. I always love talking to you, and I appreciate you making time for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're in demand, especially with the practice and the babies, right, and the family life. So, well, anything else you want to say before we invite you to tell people where to find you?
Uh, I think to say that I think what's happening is kind of important. I don't know. I was just cause I see a lot of complex clients that's been through a lot, and um, when they've been through a lot, I kind of say at the beginning like healing is messy, and so getting better is can get very messy, it's
Uh,
very linear, it's up down, and then eventually it's balanced up, and I think you know I feel like we haven't paid enough respect to Mother Earth, and or spiritually whatever, you know uh I me too at times, and I think here's the mess that kind of we need to be comfortable working together to go through. And
mm,
so just hang in there. uh I know people are saying it, we'll get through this, and there's like what's a 5 stage of grief, and so it's like up down, and so there might be another down moment, but towards the end, the last stage is, I think, acceptance, and, so
wow. Yeah. And that's so helpful, especially exactly what I think we're all going through right now. And yeah, I love that you're also modeling that, like willing to take responsibility for, like, this is something that we've all like maybe been part of creating, right? And then like how are we going to now help solve it? So yeah, that feels empowering. Mm.
so we'll get through.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, what is a good way for people to find you, like, especially because this will be on YouTube for the future, and if people want to come work with you, follow you, what's a good way?
Yeah, so my clinic is called Revitalize Rehab Club. And so you just go on the website, revitalizerehabclub.com.
Great.
We're located in those. And so, so you have any stuck physical issue or health issue, so you need a perspective, and just reach out. And I'll give you my 2 cents, and then the program.
Yes. And you're able to work really easily with people online.
Yeah.
True. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Don. So good to be with you.
Nice talking to you.
Sending love to you and the family. All right. Bye-bye.